Welcome back to High School DxD Anime Review Special Number 11. This one reviewing the 23rd light novel of the High School DxD light novel series, Joker of the Ball Games. Yep, that's what they call this one. And yes, there is a Joker in this one. Not like Joker from DC Comics. There is somebody whose first was, I think his name is Doodle, I think his name is. Yeah, he's the Joker. He's the titular Joker that this title is talking about. The book starts off with Issei and his group at their new company headquarters. Yep. Yeah, Issei's got his own company, the Issei Hyodo Company, which is a branch of the Grimmery larger enterprise, where he is the president of this company, and he's also the branch manager of it. And Revel is, of course, the vice president. And pretty much, now here's what these people do. They explain this in pretty much the first chapter of the book. Issei pretty much does his usual jobs he did before he became high class level. Asia does healing stuff. Does healing jobs. Zenelvi does physical stuff. Ross Weiss does magic. Revel, don't mention exactly what type of job Revel does. Issei's retainers there, and I forgot his name in the last episode. His name is Borva. Yeah, I remember his name now. Where he's frequently seen in this book. He's basically in his, I would say, kind of his mini draggy form. Yeah, and he basically is like this throughout pretty much whenever he's not participating in the rating games. Yeah, and apparently Issei basically paid for all the stuff in the office, like fax machines, all the office stuff with his own money. And where is his place? The basement of a cram school. Yes, a cram school. Now, here in the US, we don't have cram schools. This is pretty much this is normal standard for Japan to have these. For what I could think of what cram schools are, they're basically schools to help kids study. And apparently these things actually work. Apparently they're kind of like weekend schools in a way. Yeah, I don't know much about cram schools, and I do not want to go to one. I just don't have a desire to do it. Yeah, and of course you have Borva, who serves people tea. One of the new people who's technically not one of his devils, who is a vampire, by the way. Her name is Ansmer, and this book also reveals who his queen is. Yes, the queen is revealed in this book to be somebody who's loosely related to Greveland, I think it's pronounced name. She's the housemaid of the Grimmery household and the wife of Sir X. Yeah, it's somebody who looks exactly like her. Yeah, I can actually say who it is because this book reveals it. Yep. Also, Issei gets a couple more people working with him. They don't become servants. One is a woman named Nikinum. I think it's pronounced. I don't know much about this woman anyways. I have to look her up later. But yeah, she becomes sort of Issei's servant without becoming a devil. Yeah, I think this woman could be the classmate of Issei's who has glasses, female one. Yeah, it could be this one. Yeah, and he's also participating in a rating game in this particular one, where instead of basically fighting each other like doing a lot of the other ones, this one is a ball game, not a baseball game. It seems like this one is a basketball game, except like traditional basketball court. The way to describe it is that it's on a chessboard and a hoop and pole move around all over the place. Yep. And prior to this, before the match even happens, they're practicing in Issei's house's basement in the training room. Yeah, I'm like, of all things for a rating game, I usually a rating game. Usually, the way it's picked, usually you have two teams fighting each other for various reasons. This is the first time they do something different, and they have to, like in the last book where they had to destroy objects, this one is just shooting hoops. And Issei's team is the first one to score points with 5 to start off with. They must have scored a three-pointer and they must have scored a three-pointer shot and a regular two-pointer. That or it's different rules over in Japan. Because I highly doubt that the first shot someone scores in a basketball hoop is 5 points. Because I have played basketball. When you stand outside this particular circle, if you make a shot outside of that, you get 3 points. If you make a shot inside of the circle thing, you actually get 2 points. That's how it works over here. I'm not sure how it works in Japan, but that's the way it is. Yeah. And this whole rating game, this particular one, is actually takes up a good chunk of the book. Now, in case you're wondering, where is Rhea's team during all this? They're off taking on a different group. I don't know exactly what their group does in this particular book. I don't remember. I think they fight the former class president's group off screen, mind you. Yes. And prior to the match, EC proposes to Azia to make her happy, and she doesn't respond. My guess she accepts it anyways. And then during the rating game, and the announcer points out about this, where you have Zenobia and Arena proposing to Issei. I'm not kidding. This is what they do. For Zenobia's proposal, she says to Issei, "Please make me your bride." And then Arena's like, "Hey, I'll do it too." It's like Shiftu's like, he says, "Geez, I'll take responsibility." And apparently that gives her a big boost, though they lose the game anyways. And they lose, despite the fact it was a really good game, the way they describe it, and it is a really good game from what I've read about, from reading about it, and they lost the game 146 to 144. So it was a pretty close game. Yeah. I'm trying to think, though. Yeah, and I don't know, Kiki Nikao basically doesn't have something happen to her that happens in the next book. Yep. I'm trying to think, though. Oh yeah, Azia is suffering throughout most of this book, where she's suffering to insecurities. Yeah, where she's the current president of the Cult Research Club. Yeah, she's suffering through she's overwhelmed by all this, and that's what caused Issei to propose to her. Yep. And heck, even the Joker of Heaven points this out though about her, is that she's taking on too much responsibility while she's being president. And she just overwhelmed. And of course, Issei just trying to help as best he could. Best he can. This overall was actually a pretty good book. It does advance the plot of this series really well. And also, this is a really funny scene that happens in the book, where you have, I think it's Irina and Zenobia, who want to hop in bed with Issei. And of course, Ross Weiss is there. And even Revel. And they're all arguing, and then all of a sudden Reyes comes in, and the chapter ends with, "What's going on?" And we don't give a resolution exactly what happened. It's really bizarre. Whenever I read these chapters, is that we have this bizarre cliffhanger at the end of a chapter, and the next chapter is the next day. Yeah, this has also happened in the last book as well, where Issei's having a conversation with his new parentage, which at this point was Revel, Azia, and Zenobia, with just these three. Yeah, as what he was talking about, that was never revealed, as far as I remember. I'm trying to think, though. They also mentioned stuff about how, in this book, that Issei could go to the dragon purification mode, but he has to use either Orpheus or Lilith along in conjunction to allow him to use it, because without them he would actually die while using it. In the last book, he technically was able to do it, but not a full one. Oh yeah, and also he does a partial transformation. He transfers one of his arm to the pseudo dragon transformation, though it does kind of hurt him a bit, but it doesn't cut off his life force like it does if he does full body stuff, which is nice. I'm trying to think though. Yeah, and also when Zenobia, when Issei accepts her proposal, yeah, she gets a power boost. Apparently, I think this is when her balance breaker gets activated, just because Issei admits that yeah, he does love her. And the next book has the most funniest opening I've ever seen for this series so far. I would say so far, each book usually open with a pretty good opening, or at least this one seems like it's setting up the new status quo for this particular series, where Reyes' group is kind of basically pushed aside, where, from what I've heard, there's some of the stuff they do throughout this book and the last book, they get pushed, what they're up to, that gets pushed to the side stories. I don't really know why, even though that when this series first started, this generally was the whole group. Now there's basically two groups. I will have to read the short stories. I'm gonna read them like right after I finish book 25. I'm gonna give this particular book, roughly a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty good book so far. It's a pretty good book, and oh boy, I can't wait to talk about book 24. If in the case of the last book, which was really good, I was looking forward to it. This book is almost on the same level. It's a slight step down from the last book, but it's still a pretty damn good book altogether. Yeah, I got a lot of revelations in here, what the group is up to. Yeah, it seems like, aside from Issei, I would say the three characters who receive good amount of character development is Zenobia, Irina, and Azia. These three receive good amount of character development. Raw Sweet gets a little bit, not very much. Yeah, it seems like she's the only one of the very few who doesn't. Emerson, who is their vampire. Oh, and also during the rating game, Borva. Now, I kind of said in the last video, he also be good enough, despite the fact he was a pawn in the last book, that he would also be good enough the position of Rook. And he does take up that position in this particular book. Oh yes, he does. He takes the position as Rook in this particular book. Emerson and Nikita, I think her name is, they take a position of two of Issei's pawns. Yeah, but he still doesn't have an assigned pawn for his group. Excuse me. Yeah, officially right now, for his group, the designated positions, aside from King, these are positions he has filled so far as of this particular book. He has been filled the position of Queen, which is that character looks like Grefsa. His two bishops are Azia and Revel. Roswitz is one of his rooks, and Zenobia is one of his knights. Though Irina kind of fills in the role, but she's not the official knight because she's also an angel. Yeah, so Issei still hasn't like filled their position yet, like fully anyways, despite that he has people sort of kind of doing that. They also have they also do again in this book the transmission to that other dimension, and Michael himself shows up in this transmission while Azazel is there as well, along with Sir Zex. Yeah, that's really it as far as I can tell. So stay tuned for my review of JoJo's Adventures. That's the only video I was planning to do today besides this one. Yeah, but this was still a pretty good book. I finished this book of reading this book when I was on my break today from work. But until you see you on my next review, bye.